Hello, RJ and Mauro.
Hello,
Hello,
guys.
how's everyone doing?
Good.
All
Finally, a
good.
normal
Hello,
week.
Shay.
Are you good, Mauro? You didn't answer. Should I get worried?
About what? About me? I think I'm good. I think like if you see me falling, like then something bad happened.
Okay. I think we should get a Mauro LLM so we can get
Uh,
more emotional updates.
I went to before coming here. I went to say ChatGPT, make it more emotional, make it more human. Understand me? Uh,
Okay. Let's wait a few minutes. So 2 minutes or something like that so more people join. I think we're getting more or less a constant amount of viewers, right? At least in the
Yeah,
first 2 minutes, something, 3 minutes, we usually get around 100K. 100K,
100 people. Yeah,
100K
it
will be too
definitely.
much.
Yeah, we should be on primetime TV if we're getting 100K.
Yeah.
uh, at that point, we are really the podcast company.
Yeah, yeah.
uh, yeah, I do think like I am curious about how X counts this. I'm guessing it's cumulative viewers, like everyone who's tuned
I
in,
don't know.
but it doesn't actually tell us any of this.
No, and then when you look at the analytics, it doesn't show in the history stuff the stream. Like I tried to see
Mm,
some data, like what it offers, if people view it afterwards or something like that, and I couldn't find anything meaningful. Um, yeah, X still needs some work to be done in many stuff.
yeah.
Um,
Yes.
We should get a call with Elon.
yes, but I think it will improve. Like I know it takes time because it's a very large organization, but some stuff has been improving. And there's still a lot of features to be done, but okay, I think we have enough people so we can start. So before that, guys, I want to do something quickly so we can then concentrate uh, on the updates from engineering. And I want to hear also, we had Boris, I went to CK Summit in Toronto, and I want to hear some of the things he saw there. But I wanted to mention that I know a lot of people have questions about the tokens, so I have been addressing then some of the concerns in Telegram. Hopefully we can start explaining more, and those are that type of answers are useful for you guys. I don't think anyone or all of them will be happy, like I know that, but I want to give more information and try to answer more, and you see directly my replies. So I think that's an important community kind of short update. Like we're trying to be more uh, we're trying to give like better answers directly on Telegram. I think it's the best place if you want to address me rather than Discord. And yeah, I think you probably can see a lot of messages from me explaining the situation and trying to uh, yeah explain our thought process and some of the decisions we made. But this stream is not to talk about token related stuff. It's more to talk about the roadmap, the product, and in the future when we have the token, we can talk about the token and how it plays with the proxy in itself and how we're trying to grow the ecosystem and our long-term plans. But that's it. So yeah, you will see us more on Telegram trying to explain stuff. Mauro, do you want to start with engineering update?
Yeah, sure. I can give a quick summary. So
Um,
you might have seen before that for the aggregation mode, we are using Ethereum as a DA. We don't fully store the proofs because that will be extremely expensive, but we store enough information for each user to be able to kind of have all the data they need to verify their proof without interacting with our services. We might do some easy, simpler way where you don't have to interact with Ethereum because we see the nodes as, it's harder to work if you have to run your own beacon node, you have to pay for a beacon node, you have to pay for an Ethereum node, then you have to use Align. There are like too many pieces and we want to simplify it. So we might do a simplified API, but right now, using Ethereum with the DA, you need to interact with the beacon nodes. And since we need to interact with the beacon nodes, our local testnet needed an upgrade, right? Because it ran only an execution client with Anvil and such. So we did an update for developers to be able to run their own network locally and have the data availability layer. In this case, the Ethereum beacon node. So now, like, you run a couple of simple commands, like start some Docker instances, and you can run the whole architecture of Align, the fast mode and aggregation mode, and verify the proof of the contracts. Like this, you can run all the proof flow by yourself, and you can test on your machine. Of course, like you have everything in Holesky, but maybe you don't want to wait for the proof to be aggregated because we are submitting one proof per day. We might change that, but right now it's one proof per day. So in this way, you can just run, aggregate, and test everything locally. I think that's a good update. Then we are working a little bit with the team of Itrex, so Itrex can integrate with the aggregation mode. In this back and forth, like we found some things that could be improved. Like so, we are simplifying a little bit the API from the aggregation mode and a bit the code base. If you see the code base now, it is a little bit cleaner, more modular. If you import a line, like try it or see it, is things are a little bit simpler. You have like the whole update. Yeah, so that's another simple one, but our local network wasn't using the latest contracts of EigenLayer. Functionally, it doesn't change much, but doing this has some more extra confidence that what you're running locally is very, very similar to what you have in production. Yes, that's it. Then we are finishing a little bit. When we do the multi-layer recursion, so we can aggregate proof of proof aggregations, like we had some things to improve or fix, so we didn't merge that yet, but we did some changes and it's very close to be merged. Hopefully it will be around this week. And once again, that will enable us to have a bigger throughput. In fact, like this in combination with some upgrades of the provers, I don't know if people have seen like the latest SP1 update, but they have done something very good that is like you can select which CPU you are using, so we might be able to scale even more the aggregation mode because we can run a machine with multiple CPUs. That's something that was.
Can you explain that part again, Mauro?
Yes. So this, for some reason, at least in the case of SP1, you have your CPUs have some ID that is just the number on the slot. So you have CPU 0, CPU 1, CPU 2, CPU 3, CPU 4. When you use a CPU for proving, just in case, like you cannot use all the CPUs, right? You will just use one. That's a limitation of all the proofs. Even more, like some people were asking about benchmarking. I remember, I don't know if it was in some Fede's telegrams, like there is some Fede rambling engineering, something chat or another one, whatever. They were asking about benching and this kind of benchmarks. The other thing is like nothing is fully running in CPUs yet. I think there is a good work from the C stream, like they were showing the progress there of generating the trace in the GPU. But right now it's a combination of CPU and GPU. So it's not linear that you put a bigger GPU and things go faster. You might be bottlenecked by the CPU. That actually happened to us. I realized this by accident that our slow GPU was working faster than the big one, and it was like because the processor was better. Whatever. I'm going a little bit and taking a little bit detour. The other thing that happened is that it was the proofs were hard-coded to use like the GPU number 0. That means that if you have a GPU on slot 1, 2, 3, 4, you couldn't use them. So even if we cannot use the GPUs together to generate the same proof, it's useful to have many because we can try to run different proofs in parallel. In particular, for the aggregation mode, it means that we may be able, with this change that we have, to start aggregating proof in parallel in all the GPUs because they are different processes, and then merge them all together. Merging them all together is not too expensive. So yeah, with this new update and our work to make something more granular where you can do proofs of proofs, the throughput of the aggregation mode is very easy to scale because we don't even need to deploy more computers. At some point, though, we will do the architecture so we can deploy more computers, make it all work together. But right now, with this, it might not be so necessary.
I think this is something that at some point we should put on paper. I think it would be good if we can create like a blog of learnings. Like you, Mau, and the team have a lot of experience right now, like using Risc0 and SP1. So I think it would be good if we can put it on paper at some point and explain, hey, this is some of the stuff we learned. And it would be good feedback also for them. We're probably one of the biggest users of their tech. And something that we haven't done that I realized, Mauro, is after we finish some stuff on the aggregation mode, we should have like sit down and create like a very good comparison between the fast mode and the aggregation mode with the latest benchmarks, because the tech moves so fast that we should do a new update on it. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think our initial analysis still works. Like the fast mode can have a higher throughput, and it can scale almost indefinitely. And the proving with the GPU is always more expensive than certifying. But well, you don't have to pay to the network. There is no payment to the network. So we can talk about that in the future, and also about the VMs. I've been checking a little bit how some teams are doing optimization. I think there are some really cool stuff. There are some limitations. Sometimes people forget that they only have 2 gigabytes of RAM, and if they exceed that, like things break because the VM doesn't support more. So yeah, they have their little tricks.
But the limitation on the RAM, that's not something that should be a concern for us in the aggregation mode, right? That's
Now,
mostly if you want to execution of a program.
yeah, it's more a concern maybe for rollups or for things that have to do another kind of work. So aggregating is kind of outside the flow of the VM. Because you are not going to do the aggregation by rerunning the native verifiers, because that will be very expensive. So what you usually have is are specific circuits designed for aggregation. If you are using a native one of the provers, you do maybe a syscall, call the verify, and you exit the VM kind of for a moment, and do the verification and go back. So yeah, you are outside the normal flow of the VM. Most of them have some ways to do this. like Risc0, SP1, Lita. They all have to do it anyways. The whole reason for using Starks, I mean, they are fast, but they are very fast at when doing recursion. So that's one of the tricks, and why most of these VMs work so well.
Okay. Okay, got it. I wonder if at some point we will see something where we'll have like app specific rollups, maybe I don't know, for transfers, let's say, and these VMs can start entering specific circuits for all of those things, so you don't have the same bottleneck.
Yeah, my intuition here with the VMs is that you will end up working on more like traditional engineering. Like if you see that there is an operation that is taking most of the time, you design maybe a circuit for that. But if not, you just continue using the default behavior. Not sure like how much room there will be for these delegating to specific circuits, because the VM is very efficient. The usual things are provided, like you already have a Ketchup circuit, a Blake circuit, a Poseidon circuit, but there is room to use that.
Yeah, no, okay. Just thinking aloud, but do you think we will see at some point like a smart contract environment designed in with the bottlenecks in mind of actually getting proving it? Something more similar to what we have seen with Cairo, but directly on top of these zkVMs.
Yeah, that's a discussion if Ethereum has to migrate to a RISC-V architecture or a specific architecture design for.
Yes, it's true. It's the same thing. If Ethereum has to do it on the base layer, yeah, it will be the same. That's right.
On an app layer, it probably depends on the throughput that you want to hold. I think like you can always go faster, of course, with the VM designer for zk.
Yeah.
But even then, probably one of the biggest difference will be like if your architecture uses Ketchax or if it uses Poseidon. If you change Ethereum to use Poseidon, it's going to be proven much faster, right? Probably that change is bigger than changing the architecture of your zkVM.
Yeah. That changes a lot of stuff.
Yeah, that will break everything, right? But if you are designing everything from zero and you tell me I want to go as fast as possible, maybe I will think about changing the Merkle trees before like changing the architecture of the VM. In particular, if you are going to do something really a very big breaking change, I don't think it's possible to do that. I'm not sure. Probably some people on more on the Ethereum development side has a stronger opinion. Because as I always say, it's easy to design it on paper, right? They tell you just do Poseidon, it's going to go faster, okay? But there are a lot of money there, so you cannot just go and break everything because you can write something better on paper.
Yeah,
but things, for example, if you are doing something new, like Maiden is not using Ketchax at all. That's why you can also do some signing on the phone and it goes really fast. It's very lightweight. There is no reason like they don't have to be compatible. I mean, what will it be to be compatible? It's not even an EVM thing. It's UTXO mixed with an account model. It's totally different. So and then if you are in that scenario, just use whatever hash is more convenient and be done with it.
Yeah, I think we will see more of those like new teams making similar decisions and designing for their own purposes. But I agree with you that some of the stuff we usually say that we want to fix, We forget there's a lot of money involved in all of these things, and money is conservative. Like one of the reasons why Ethereum has a lot of liquidity is because it has been very consistent. Because I had almost 100% uptime, I believe, and yeah, money is conservative. Like it doesn't like risk. So all of these things require a lot of coordination and being careful, especially when you touch DeFi stuff that is already working and all of those things.
There might be not necessarily in the hashes, but we will have to change both in Ethereum and Bitcoin some part of the core protocols, because else it will lie with quantum computers. So maybe if we are going to break a little bit things because we need to migrate to quantum computer tools, we can also be a little bit more CK friendly in a way. Kill well, that I'm not sure if that's a good expression in English, but you do two things with one.
You kill two birds with one stone. That's what you mean.
Yeah. No, but I started the phrase and I was not sure if this is a good one, but yes.
Yeah.
Well, we will see. I'm actually kind of worried about that. I think we should have it on the map and start quickly resolving it before it's too late. But we will see.
I think that the Ethereum community has that in mind, and some of the proposal for the Beam chain has a lot of these things. Like Justin Drake has talked about this a lot of times.
Yes.
It is something that they have in mind. I don't know if it's urgent, I would say.
In the validator roadmap, like they will probably change it very soon as far as I have seen, and it would be nice to drop all the elliptic curve cryptography for that availability and go to a star-based system and star-based signatures. That would be very useful.
Yes. Okay. Now that we're talking about some of the CK learnings, I believe Boris, it would be cool if you can share what have you seen in the CK Summit, and also consensus, but I believe the most interesting one probably was CK Summit. Like what if there was something new, what were people working on? What have you seen that people were excited about? I think the tech is moving really fast, so there's probably some stuff that is worth mentioning.
Totally. Yes. Thank you, RJ. And before I jump into that, I'll also say I shared this in the chat while Mauro was giving engineering updates, but today we posted the first of these weekly engineering updates on our blog. I can actually show it here, which is a feature we haven't really used, showing comments. But yeah, if you're watching the stream, you can see this in the comments, or just check out our blog. And we're trying to do this every week to just be more transparent about our progress. Like everything we do is open source in the public, so you can look at our GitHub, but just to surface these things for people who aren't digging into the repo all the time, we think it's important that we share our progress with the entire community and our partners. So you can check that out. And yes, like RJ said, I was at ZK Summit 1 week ago.
Wait, Boris, I wanted to say one more thing about before we jump in to the next subject. That you're right. Like I forgot to mention this. We're doing the updates are very important for us, and we're trying to putting every single information because there are many out there that are engineers, and we'll have in the future a lot of clients. So I think it's useful for them to see all of the details on the latest stuff. But also we're doing some work to try to explain things for people who are not very technical and they want to understand how is the project actually progressing. And we have a lot of people in the community, and I think if we can explain things a little more in terms of how the prog is evolving, is very important. I think we're not there yet, but we're working so we can make sure everyone understands. And if they want to participate on a line, doesn't matter the level of technical knowledge they have, they can understand more or less where things are heading. And that's, yeah. If anyone has any feedback or something that they would like to see, please let us know. That's the last thing I wanted to mention about this.
Yeah, thank you, RJ. Yeah, and if also if you have questions about the different engineering updates, our Telegram is there, Discord is there. Telegram is probably the best place to ask some questions if something is unclear or you're curious about the future. But yeah, back to ZK Summit. So this was really fun for me. It was my first ZK Summit, and a lot of people talk about ZK Summit being their favorite crypto or ZK event of the year. And it was also in my hometown of Toronto, actually held in a building at my university, a building called Hart House at the University of Toronto. Beautiful building. So I'm actually going to share my screen and talk about some of the cool stuff that I saw there. Where do I do that? Share screen.
Yeah, people like pictures and screens.
Yeah, exactly. So first thing is you can actually watch the live recording. If you just go to zksummit.com, you can get to this page. It's just the live recording of the main stage, and that was also where I spent most of my time when I wasn't catching up with friends and chatting. And they're going to be adding this to their YouTube as well. So for those of you who don't know, ZK Summit is produced by the Zero Knowledge podcast, which is hosted by Anna Rose and a bunch of other great people, Nico, Kobe, some other co-hosts. And they've been doing these podcasts about ZK for years now. Great place to learn. And yeah, this 13th edition of the ZK Summit was really cool. You can see the speakers here, and I'll actually just pull up this schedule and talk about some of the things I saw. So I'm not a cryptographer, and I'm not an engineer. I've written some code with Python and ChatGPT, but there was a lot of cool stuff even when the math was above my head. I mean, a lot of people seemed excited about some of these different like lattice-based folding techniques, faster snarks. I was personally most excited about some things that were a little closer to the area that I think about. One thing that I think was notable, or at least some people said was notable, is that MPC on the main stage at ZK Summit. It seems like the types of applied cryptography being discussed at these events is expanding in scope. And I think this is cool because different types of cryptography can be useful for different use cases. So Mikera from HashClick and Stoffel Labs, who I actually had as a guest on a Wednesday stream a while back, she talked about different instruction set architectures for MPC and how we can use this in different protocols. This talk was actually really cool. It was talking about basically using machine learning models and making them zero knowledge. So proving machine learning models, and that was quite interesting. Something that I want to look into a little bit more. And I know that there's a few projects in the space, including some of our partners that are working on this as well. So it was cool. This was more like academic focused. And then later in the day, there was a series of flash talks, which were just like short 15-minute talks. Jeremy from Risc got into the latest version of their Risc VM. And I think they also shared on Twitter that day that they have achieved 22 seconds to prove a full Ethereum block. So that's exciting. The race to have real-time proving is on, and a lot of teams, including Risc are hoping to have it by the summer, by July. And they, I think this is like a big improvement over the last version. So that was exciting. They also, I think, added support for different backends in this latest version, but I need to double check that. There was some information from OpenVM, Yisun, from Axiom, and how they're using this for scroll. And yeah, I didn't catch all of these because I was chatting with people, but the last two talks of the day were actually really cool. Mutu from Ligero had this kind of provocative sounding talk title about vibe coding ZK apps. This was more just to show that, show off the platform that they've built and how you can have a sort of app store of verifiable apps that run inside their Ligatron zkVM, which can run in, I think it compiles to WASM, so it can run in your browser. It was a really nice presentation. He had some nice demos. I'd say that's worth checking out if you're thinking about what sort of things you can build with ZK. And this last talk that closed off the day, I think, was really, really good. Again, more application focused. Basically, Self, which is something that came out of Cello Labs, the founder of Cello and of Self, Merrick, gave a great talk here showing how they've been able to use the RFID from biometric passports to verify people's identity. And he explained how they actually go through the different registries that different countries have, and how this all works. And actually, I tested it out before. It's really nice. You scan the RFID chip on your passport, and you generate a client-side proof that it's a genuine passport, and this is like your identity. And then this can be used for all sorts of things, proving your age without revealing it and stuff like that. So really cool stuff. I know there's a few teams that are working on this sort of thing, including Raremo and zk. There's another project called zk Passport itself. So yeah, exciting space. This is like what people have talked about zk being useful for a long time. And it seems like they already have this in production. It seems to be working. They've had like millions of people registered, and I took some notes. I think they have like 50 countries or something supported. Maybe that's an exaggeration. Maybe it's in the, but it's several tens of countries supported already. So it's really cool to see this kind of stuff in production. You can download the app and try it out with your own passport already. And that's all being done client side. But yeah, I don't know if the side stage or breakout room or workshop recordings will be on there, but all of these are on the website. So if there's any research that is interesting, I'm sure you could find papers through the various speakers' talks and Twitter profiles. But yeah, overall, it was really fun. It was nice to chat with people. I found out a few people I know from Toronto work for Risc now as engineers. Caught up with, just a lot of different folks, and learned a ton. And then, the rest of the week was Consensus in Toronto, which is not a conference that I've been to before. It's very institutional and sort of like trad focused. I think what's probably interesting to share from there is that it really does seem like adoption is coming and being accepted by the institutional players. Some of the biggest news from last week would be like Robinhood, which a lot of people know, American company that a lot of people trade stocks on. They just acquired WonderFi, which is a Canadian centralized exchange. And WonderFi actually just launched their own L2 using zk Sync, zk Stack. And apparently this was one of the factors behind Robinhood wanting to acquire them, because they already have this L2 infra set up internally that they're going to be onboarding their users onto. I think that signals a big push towards adoption and use of Ethereum-based financial rails for the financial system. There's also, this is stuff that we covered in our ZK News last week, and I think on the stream, Stripe has announced these stablecoin financial accounts in over 100 countries. Coinbase is making a big push to make it easier for payment to happen natively over the internet using USDC with their X402 standard. And there was a lot of talks from regulators and government folks in Canada and the US really just signaling that crypto is something that the government cares about and that adoption is important. Tons of stuff about stable coins, of course. And then a lot of discussion, it was being held in Toronto. So people discussing how Canada can establish itself as a place where crypto innovation happens. There's sort of a deep history of crypto in Canada. Ethereum basically started in Toronto or in the Toronto area. And there's a lot of sort of like early folks within Ethereum are from Canada, but I think we still are kind of lagging in terms of regulation that is making it harder for people to start companies here. And an interesting thing is, this is maybe my last fun fact, Canada is the only country that does not have a federal securities regulatory body, except for, I think, Bosnia. It's like Canada and Bosnia. Every other nation has a federal securities regulator. For us, it's actually each province has their own, and then they all kind of have a committee that they collaborate with, but they each set their own policy. So if an exchange wants to operate in Canada, they technically need to get approval across every single province. But again, they do have a committee where they coordinate these things. But yeah, I thought that was kind of interesting to find out. And
that's probably a problem with adoption regulatory, from a regulatory point of view. But it will be good. It will be really good if Canada can bring more light on all of these things, because there are many teams that are from their area, and I know that a lot of teams from the US also hire engineers from Canada. Many of them from Waterloo, I believe. Like Mona, they hire a bunch of people from Waterloo.
Yeah.
It will be really good. Okay. No, I think zkSummits are usually a great place, a great conference to go. This time we were not able to go with the full team. Only Boris that he's a local. But hopefully, I think, Mauro, correct me if I'm wrong, but we usually have 2 zkSummits per year, right? One at the beginning of the year and one at the end.
Yes, at least two.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll see if we can go to the next one. But yeah, it still looks like real-time proving is one of the major things. So I'm really excited about it, and I think it will be really good for Ethereum, and in terms for Align, is something that we already count on. We believe it's something that is going to happen, and many of the products we're building them because we know that this tech is ready. Okay, thank you, Boris, for assisting there and giving us and sharing your insights. I believe we're already almost 40 minutes in, so we should close here. But we will see everyone next week, and yeah, probably next time we'll try to publish the engineering update before the stream. So if anyone wants to take a look at it and ask questions, they can already have the information. And yeah, thank you everyone for joining. Any last comments, Boris and Mauro?
Nothing from my end.
Yeah, no comments.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Nice seeing you guys, and thanks for tuning in.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone.